Alright, so today I want to share with you how I do immersion at 10,000 hours. So I started doing immersion in English in 2015, so it's been more than 10 years. And I think I've got over 10,000 hours down, but I haven't been tracking the total number of hours, so that's just like a ballpark estimate based on my memory. But don't quote me on that. So yeah, but the thing is that the way I've been doing immersion is I just watch whatever interested in me. So I didn't really have like a strategy, or I wasn't really strategic about the approach I did immersion. So as a result, I think my immersion wasn't really that optimized. Like a lot of the content that I watched, I could have definitely like absorbed or learned more vocabulary, more like phrases, or I could have improved my listening a lot more if I had been more strategic about my approach. But yeah, I also another thing is I didn't use SRS at all. Like I didn't use any sort of space repetition to improve my retention. I think my vocabulary is not bad. It's definitely over 10,000 words, but it's just not as good as it could be if I had been more strategic. So from now on, since I live in Australia, I do have a lot of opportunities to use English. So it gives me a lot of motivation to take my English to the next level and to be more strategic about my immersion from now on. So let me go over the main goals I'll be focusing on over the next couple of months. So the number one goal is definitely to improve my active vocabulary. So yeah, because my comprehension is already pretty good. That there are still like a few areas that I'm lacking in, which I'll go over later. But when it comes to comprehension, I think I'm mostly good. Like it's enough for me to have a pretty good social life, and I can talk to people. I can talk about various topics with people. So comprehension really isn't that big of an issue. It's just that there's still room for improvement, which I'll get into now. So when it comes to comprehension, because the past 10 years I've been watching mostly just YouTube content. So the problem with that is like my current level, I can understand most YouTube content with almost no effort. I can understand it pretty easily. I have enough vocabulary, so whether it's podcasts or just videos, like most things are pretty easy to understand. But what I've realized is that because I've been getting into like more TV series and movies and things like that, and what I've realized is that I have a much harder time to keep up with like scripted content like movies and TV series or TV series. So it's definitely one area that I need to work on is I don't know what the thing is. Probably just because they're using more advanced vocabulary and they speak at a much faster pace, and so a lot of the time I can't really keep up. So yeah, that's definitely an area that needs improvement, which is good because like when I watch that type of content, I can increase like my active vocabulary as well as my comprehension at the same time. So with all of that information, I think the best strategy for me right now is just to watch a lot of like movies and TV series instead of YouTube content, so to really improve my comprehension. And at the same time, I do want to improve my output and active vocab when I watch those types of content. So what I'll be doing in my during my immersion is I'll be mining phrases to that I'll be using in my output. And just to give you guys like a number, so the current rate I'm marking words is about one word or phrase per minute. And those words are usually not words that I don't understand. Rather, they're words that I want to be able to use in my output. As I've said, I've done so much immersion. That's basically most of the words I already know what they mean. So as you can see, these words are the words I marked recently. These words I do know their meaning. So the purpose of these cards aren't really to improve my comprehension, but rather to improve my ability to use them in my output. So I just want to sort of burn them into my brain, kind of solidify the neural pathways for output. When I review these words, I always enable the active recall feature. So it sort of it hides the actual word you marked and shows the context. So it trains your ability to actively recall the word itself rather than trying to recall the meaning. Because the meaning, if you disable this feature, it shows you the entire sentence. And for me, this is too easy because it's pretty easy to figure out what it means if you have a large enough vocabulary. So yeah, that's pretty much how I'll be doing immersion from now on. And I also want to talk about how I choose the type of content I watch. As I said earlier, I'm trying to focus on improving my output. So what I'm trying to find is the type of content that has a lot of phrases or words that I'll be using in my actual output. So for me, what I want to learn at the moment is like words that you can use in social situations, be a more like kind of fun person rather than, because I tend to speak very in a very logical way when I speak English. And I notice a lot of second language learners do this because it's hard for us to speak in a like figurative or like in a way that's not so like literal and logical. So I think that's definitely an area I need to improve on, is improving my sense of humor as well as the richness of my vocabulary. So I don't always like speak in a very predictable manner. And in order to do this, I've tried a lot of different shows, and what I've realized is that you have to find the kind of character that fits your personality. So from my experience, if you choose a character that's kind of, you think it's funny, you think he's like charismatic, but a lot of the lines are too like, they're too scripted, or like they're too distant from your own character, and as a result, it's very hard for you to use it in this real like real social situation. It's just you'll just find it weird to use those phrases, and it'll be very out of place, abrupt, or unnatural. So that's kind of something that I'm aware of, or I try to be conscious of when I'm picking the right content to use. So recently, what I'm watching is Lucifer. So just an example, I was kind of deciding between Lucifer and Suits, these two shows, and then I ended up choosing Lucifer because I used AI to list out a few lines in the movies, and I found that in Suits, a lot of the lines are too like forceful, or like too sort of too forceful, too savage. They're not like soft enough, and I do have like a more easygoing, friendly personality. So I just found that words or phrases that they use in Lucifer is like much more easier for me to adopt and use in. So yeah, that's what kind of something I've noticed recently. And I think in these movies or TV series, you might not be able to copy the and just use it directly, but you'll be able to use like part of the line, or like a phrase in the sentence, or a word or a phrase in the sentence, and build your own sentences using those words. So as long as it kind of adds to my vocabulary, it's all good. Like it doesn't have to be a whole line that I'll be able to directly apply to my output. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'll be doing from now on with my English immersion. Okay, hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.